Okay. So, yeah, we certainly give just thanks for who God is and what he's doing in our life. And just excited. I understand that the dance recital went very, very well yesterday. Was not able to attend myself because I had to do a eulogy for a close friend of ours, grandmother who had passed and was 94 years old, lived a wonderful, amazing life. And it's when you do eulogies, they're always challenging, but some are much easier than others because of how the person has lived their life. And this was one of those that was very, it was fun time together because of the memories she had and how she had lived her life. It was a unique woman. She had lived, she was born in 1928. She was 94 when she passed, and she was still relevant today, as relevant as she was way back. So it was interesting that she updated herself on a continual basis, that she stayed relevant. I met her probably 4 or 5 years ago when she was in her late 80s at a wedding, which I was doing for her grandson. And the first time I met her, she was dancing on the dance floor with her grandson to Boogie Nights. So was a Sister Patricia, I think this lady would take you on the dance floor. She was pretty good. So it was just fun to be with the family. And of course, you always, your heart is hurting, but your spirit rejoice because of who she was. And so, but anyway, we're going to get into a word this morning. I think we asked you to read, turn to Luke chapter 5, verses 36 through 39, which Sister Patricia read. I will read it again. It says, "And he spake also a parable unto them. No man putteth a piece of a new garment upon an old. If otherwise, then both the new maketh a rent, and the piece that was taken out of the new agreeth not with the old. And no man putteth wine into old bottles, else the new wine would burst the bottles and be spilled, and the bottles shall perish. But new wine must be put into new bottles, and both are preserved. No man also having drunk old wine straightway desireth new, for he saith, the old is better. The old is better." So I want to talk to you this morning from a topic that I think is going to be very uplifting, and I want to stay in this vein for probably for some time as well, because I think what God is doing is amazing in our lives right now. And I just want to encourage you that learning how to embrace the change is the subject. The theme that we want to speak from this morning is embracing change, and really focusing on how to build resilience and to make change work for you, how to build resilience and to make change work for you. I think this is important now because as we navigate through life, as we navigate through the spaces that we live in, it's going to be very, very important that we understand how to handle change. Change has many faces. It has many faces. There are many faces to change. As a matter of fact, whether you like it or not, change is always going to challenge you, and it will challenge not just you, but every step of your life journey. Change will challenge it because change is the constant companion from birth to death. Change is a constant companion. It's always with you, no matter what you're doing. If you ain't doing nothing, change is still happening. If you're sitting still, change is still moving forward. If you're in fast motion, it doesn't matter. Change is always taking place. And sometimes we don't take the time to reflect on the reality or the inevitability of change and how it can turn our lives upside down. It is how it has the potential now to create emotional whirlwinds that can threaten or even sometimes sweep us away. Change takes place all the time. We, at one moment, a year and a half ago, we're empty nesters. All of a sudden, overnight, now we have two teenagers in the house because of change. And change can come in such a way that oftentimes we're not prepared for it. Human nature is designed to change real slow. We don't like fast change. It takes a long time to evolve and to navigate through spaces. We don't like really, really quick change. And how difficult change can be unless we develop the necessary skills to manage it. In other words, change must be managed. What you can't control, you must manage. And you can't control change is going to take place. So what you want to do is learn how to manage it. And you need skill sets to manage change. And I'm going to give you a list of things I think will help you manage change. One of the other things I think we need to think about is how change has really been a reality of humans since the beginning of time. There's never been a time where change was not taking place. It may have been moving at a different pace, but it has always taken place as we navigate through our life journey. Change can be best described, as moving from one state or situation to a new one. From single to being married, from married to being single again, from being no parent to becoming a parent, from being employed to being unemployed, from being unemployed to being employed, from being broke to having enough, from moving from having just enough to having more than enough. All these changes are taking place. And there are times when it's challenging for us to keep up. By definition, this suggests change can be described, as moving from one state or situation to a new one. I'm going from one state to a new one, and change is taking place. Sometimes it's mental change, your mind, your focus one minute, the next minute you can't focus. And sometimes it is psychological, where you're feeling good about who you are, and then the next minute you don't like who you are, and you're struggling with your identity and that type of thing. So change now is really moving, best described as moving from one state or situation to a new one. By definition, this suggests that something has been altered or transformed, and that in practice is what happens so often in our life. Something has been altered, something has been transformed, something has happened. The three little bears. Somebody been sleeping in my bed. It's the Goldilocks. You remember? And then she walks in. They walk in and says, "Somebody been sleeping in my bed." Some change took place, altered what had been happening. Somebody been eating out of my bowl. You understand? Somebody has been into my situation and has disrupted it. And so selling along, merely you can be going along and doing fine. And one phone call can literally turn your life sometimes upside down, because change is always happening. And our goal now, our objective is to learn how to better just embrace change, number one, but also we want to build resilience and make change work for us. Resilience means that you're resilient, you're able to bounce back, you're able to overcome, you're able to move back, to bounce back to a place of where you can function again. And so change is challenging, and none of us are immune from the constant changing of landscapes of life. You're not immune to it. None of us are immune. Sometimes we'll find ourselves at the summit of life where everything looks like it's going well. And then all of a sudden now, at other times you'll find where I'm at the short period of being at a summit and you look like everything is a struggle to survive. I experienced it. I experienced it in my home. I experienced it in my personal life. I experienced it in my workplace. I was at work the other day and I did a report on the number of projects that we had going, and we listed over, I think it was over 35 projects that are taking place on campus right now that are moving. Great team just working with that. Thankful for that. lots of moving pieces, and these things are happening. And there was a time when it felt overwhelming. Now it feels comfortable because I feel like all the pieces or boxes are being checked and we're getting the right things done. But being able to manage change is part of my life. To survive change, we must learn to adapt to it. We got to learn how to adapt to change. We got to learn how to adapt to it, because adaptability is a skill set that oftentimes we good at when we're little, but we get older, we don't like to adapt. We get stuck. Another way we say that, you're just stuck in your old ways, that type of thing. You don't like to change. You don't like to learn nothing. But when you're a kid, they're adapting all the time. They're moving. They got energy, because change makes a withdrawal. It makes a demand on the energy of your thought life and your mental life and your physical life. And sometimes we're just tired, and I just don't want to change no more. I don't want to move no more. I don't want to do anything anymore. And so change is better when you learn how to adapt. And so when we think of it from that aspect now, it's important to understand that we can, there are there are three things we want to think about when we think about change. And I think the first one is this, is that change is inevitable. It's inevitable. It's going to happen. It's a constant companion with us in our journey of life. It's inevitable. You can't make it not happen. The second thing is we must recognize and accept this reality is we must recognize, that's the second thing. You want to recognize and accept that's a reality. Change is happening. You can't do what you used to do. You can't move like you used to move. You can't do things as fast as you used to do them. And then I think thirdly, we must learn how to survive and thrive. To survive and thrive, we must learn how to adjust and adapt to the change. That's the third thing. If you want to survive it, if you want to thrive in it, then you must learn how to make the adjustment or the adaptation to the change. When change comes, we have two options. First one is we succumb to it and say, it's happening to me, and find ourselves blown away like a feather in the wind and discover now, or the other second thing is you can discover new strengths within ourselves in order to manage our periods. And I don't know about you, I don't want to just succumb to it, but if I'm going to go through change, I want to get something out of the deal. I want to be able to grow. I want to be able to gain strength. I want to be able to move in a new way, on a new level. And so when it comes to change, Jesus in the text that we read talked a little bit about change. And he's really talking about injecting this mission, this assignment, this calling that's going to go against their customs. It's going to challenge their customs, their norm, and what they do. And he began to call people into change. If you go back, if you were to go back to verse 27, you'll have to go there, but it's where he reaches out. He sees this publican named Levi, who is at the receipt of customs. And he said, just follow me. It's a sudden change. Jesus says, hey, drop what you're doing and follow me. And this guy left all and followed him. And the Bible says that Levi made a great feast for his family. He's getting ready to leave. And so he made this great feast and this type of thing and began to hang out with Jesus. Now, Jesus is not hanging out with the church folk at this moment. He's hanging out with those that drink and those, because he is looking for the ones that need the help that he brings to the table. And the church folk get mad at it. And it says, you're hanging out with these sinners. And I thought you was the Messiah. I thought you was the one. And hey, you are hanging out with them. And Jesus says, if you're whole, you don't need a physician. But if you're sick, you need a physician. And I'm going to hang out with them. And I think we as a church, oftentimes, if we're not careful, we'll hang out with all the people that are in the religion, and we will miss out on all the folk outside of that need a relationship. And so Jesus challenges that, and he moves now to this mission. And he said, in this mission that I'm on is we're going to bring joy. We're going to bring real joy. And so he says, We're going to bring real joy. And so the question now is Jesus says his presence, when he's with us, he brings joy. He brings vitality of life. He brings, and he talks about, he says, this is his mission. And then he also navigates from that, and he gets down to a point where he understands they're struggling with accepting this new mission and this change that he's bringing about and how he's going to do things. Because what he's saying is, we're not going to be stuck in a synagogue. So we're going to go out and we're going to become fishers of men. We're going to go out and we're going to go out by the highways and byways, and we're going to gather folk that don't know anything about eternal life, that don't know anything about salvation, that don't know anything about a new life and a new start, a rebirth. And he says, we're going to reach these guys, and they're struggling with that, because up until this point, they have only hung out with people that look like them and act like them. And we have to learn how to connect to folk that don't look like us, don't act like us, don't think like us, but need what we got to offer and be able to spend time with them. And I think this is important. So this is the challenge now. And he says, but in order for you to accept this mission, he gives this parable. And this is in verse 36 now. He says, no man puts a piece of a new garment on an old. He says, because then both the new maketh a rent, and the piece that was taken out of the new agreeth not with it, the old. In other words, he says, I'm not here to fix up your old life. I'm not here to reconstruct and rebuild your old life. What he's saying is, I'm coming now that I want to start completely over new. I want to start with a new start, a new slate, if you will, that we can start. Hey, I ain't trying to reconstruct and remodel your old life. And oftentimes now we think when we accept him, we want him to come in and fix everything that's broken down in us. And Jesus says, no, what I'm going to do is trash that, and I'm going to give you something new. I'm going to do something new. What I'm going to bring to you is new, so I need something new to pour it into. And so he gives this parable about the wine and the wineskins. And the reality is that the wineskin parable is centered around when they would make new wine, they would put it in new wineskin, because the new wineskin still had flexibility, so that when you put the new wine in it, as it is fermenting, it grows. It is changing, it is expanding. And he says, so I'm not going to put new wine in an old bottle, because when it begins to expand and begin to grow and begin to change, the old is not going to be flexible enough to expand with it, and it will burst and you'll lose everything. And so what Jesus is saying is that I want to give you something new. I want to give you a new life. I want to give you a new attitude, and I need to put it in something that's new. So I don't need to put it in something old. I'm not taking the new attitude and pouring it into your old attitude, because it's not flexible enough. So what I need to do is just give you something completely new to start with. I need a new wineskin. I need a new mindset. I need a new makeover, start, a rebirth, so that when I pour into you the new that I have for you, you are pouring into something that's new. It is to start over. It is different. It would be, when your car, I'm gonna give an example, when your car breaks down and you say, okay, my motor went out. Well, it's one thing to go get a new motor and put it into the old car, but the old car is not going to be able to contain the new motor, because the old car's broke down too. You understand? And what he's saying is, in your life, he wants to do something new for you, but he doesn't want it to be poured. He doesn't want it to be poured into something that's not going to be able to grow and expand with it. This is important. And so he says, so the new wine and the new bottles, we want to make sure everything is preserved. The new life and movements are difficult to accept. They take time sometimes to understand. And so as I'm going to pour it into you, then it's going to grow once I put it into you, and I need you to be able to expand with it. And so when we think about change now, there are 10 ways to embrace change. There are 10 ways to embrace change. Number one, and these are important because this is the meat of the message, 10 ways to embrace change. Number one, you must first remember that change is inevitable, it is normal, and it is necessary. You need to learn how to say that over and over. You should write that down, wake up in the morning and say it before you leave out your door, so that when change hits you in the face, you'll say, this wasn't abnormal. I knew this was coming, because change is inevitable. It is normal. It is necessary. It is because sometimes change comes. We say, well, it didn't take all this. It's not necessary. No, remember, change is inevitable. It is normal. It is necessary. Specifically, you might like to use this sentence or use it as an affirmation statement. You want to repeat it as often as every time self-doubt stand up, you need to make the statement that change is inevitable, it is normal, and it is necessary. You want to be able to acknowledge this on a regular basis, because it'll help create a capacity for you to accept what God is going to do in your life. The second thing is a way to embrace change, talking about 10 ways to embrace change. Number two is you want to name and acknowledge the changes you are experiencing. You got to put a name on it. You got to acknowledge it. I'm getting older. You understand? I ain't getting younger. I ain't got to sit here. How old are you? I'm young. No, you're getting older. You're aging. You're getting some age. I can't do what I used to do at the same speed or rate. You understand? So I want to be able to name and acknowledge changes that I'm experiencing. If I'm dealing with a change in my life, I want to be able to acknowledge it, that type of thing, and be able to acknowledge it, name it, and acknowledge it. It's like when you go to the doctor and they do the eye test, and you take the glasses off, cover one eye, and what do you see? And call out them letters. You understand? What he's doing is trying to put a name on your sight. You can't see well. You know what I'm saying? He want to just not just say you can't see. He want to name and acknowledge it. You're short-sighted. You're nearsighted. You're whatever. And so we got to make the adjustments, and he makes the adjustments. Things are changing, and so I have to say things are changing, and that's okay. Boy, that was a lot of shifting, and it feels tough, but it's okay. Things are changing. You gotta give me some grace for this change. I know it's coming down the pipe. I know it's moving, that type of thing. I'm dealing with teenagers. Change is in the house. You understand? And so I have to acknowledge it, and I have to name it and acknowledge it. I'm dealing with that. And then the third thing you want to do is you want to claim now your spear of control. You want to access the situation and determine which elements are within your control, because every time change comes, there's part of it that you can control, then there's a part of it that you just have to manage. I can't control it, so I must manage it. But what I can control, I can put back. Example, you understand? You go to the doctor says your blood pressure is going up, and you say, okay, my blood pressure is going up. So he says, well, you gain a few pounds. You need to drop a few pounds. And you say, okay, well, I can drop so much. I can control that. But once it get to the point I can't control it and drop no more or get it to where I need it, then I got to manage what I got left. And so you have to learn how to claim your sphere of control. What part of it can you control, and what part of it do you need to manage? This is important, man. So it's important now so it might be helpful to categorize elements as in my control and out of my control. I can't control that I have that the teenagers are teenagers, you understand? But I can say that I can control and set some standards that will help them manage themselves in a better way. This is important. And then the fourth thing you want to do in order to embrace this change. Now, the fourth thing you want to do is you want to separate yourself from the experience. You are not defined by one change. You as a whole person with a vast and diverse experiences. Yes, life can change and it can impact you greatly, and you can get to decide which transition will mean for you. But if it feels supported, give yourself a gentle mental reminder of your wholeness. For instance, now I use this phrase, I am not this experience. I went through this experience, but I am not this experience. I went through this experience, but I am not this experience. And you have to be able to sometimes separate yourself from the experience. I learned this. We were on a trip coming from Paris on a boat coming through the Caribbeans, and we stopped and I made a statement on the island. There's a place where there was slave trades. And I said, oh, these people were slaves. They said, no, they were not slaves. They were enslaved. Do you understand? That's the difference. They were not slaves, but they were enslaved. In other words, they experienced being enslaved, but they were never slaves, because you're saying they are what they experience, and you are not what you experience. I may have drunk too much, but I'm not a drunkard. You understand? And so it's important now that we separate ourselves from the experience. I hope you're getting this. Number 5, now, if you're going to embrace change, you want to maintain self-care routines and rituals. Self-care routines and rituals. While things are shifting in life, it can be helpful now to rely on a small handful of self-care practices. Some practices that will ground and support you. For instance, sometimes it's good to take a long walk, a 30 or 60-minute walk per day. That's maintaining self-care routines and rituals. You understand? You want to be able to do that. And one of the things I need to get back to doing, I'm starting this week, and pray for me, but I used to often will listen to 1 hour of preach word every day. In order to do 1 hour of preach word every day, I needed something that I could put myself in for 1 hour so I could hear it. And so I would ride my bike for 1 hour while listening to 1 hour of preach word. And that way, when I got back, I had gotten 2 for 1. You understand? I had gotten some exercise, I had gotten the word in, and I get a 3 for 1. I also had a chance just to self-reflect. You understand? And so being able to do that. So you have to create now or maintain self-care routines and rituals. What are you doing to take care of yourself? What are you doing that you are now managing? You are saying, I can control this. I can get set aside an hour a day for myself. You understand? I don't have to be in a fight all day. I don't have to be in the war and being shot at and running from the bear every day, all day. There are sometimes you have to set aside some time and say at least 1 hour out of the day. If I can sleep, 6, 7, 8 hours a night, I ought to be able to get 1 hour of time just the ways that I can just do some self-care. So the question I ask you is, what is on your go-to self-care list? You understand? Number 6 now, if you're going to manage change, if you're going to embrace change, you want to be able to focus on resilience. Each change with it some level of discomfort. Each change will bring with it some level of discomfort. And as you meet this discomfort and learn new parts of yourself, you are getting stronger and you're getting wiser. Don't be afraid of the change. You'll learn something about you. But when you learn that, write that down. That's a new strength you didn't realize you have. So I invite you to notice the quality of your heart as you consider these ideas. Focus on resilience. Number 7, you want to ask for help. This is important. Ask for help. Friends, you have a support system for a reason. In times of transition and change may call for extra love and extra care. There's nothing wrong saying, hey, I need some extra time. I need some extra attention. And we have to be sensitive now when people are asking for that, because again, everybody is slow to change. We don't like the change. And if you're in a situation where somebody is requiring more of your time in your situation and more of your attention, you have to be sensitive and say, you know what, I really didn't even take time to think about that. But it's important now because each transition is a chance now to connect with yourself and your community. Hear that again. Ask for help because each transition is a chance to connect with yourself and your community. Ask for help. Number 8, you want to celebrate now growth. Celebrate growth. Through each and every change you are making progress. You have to ask yourself, you have to pat yourself on the back sometimes and call a friend or a journal and say, man, you ain't gonna believe I got through this. You understand? You got to celebrate growth. I was telling my wife, I woke up the other morning, 3 o'clock in the morning, I wasn't upset, wasn't worried. I was just happy because I was making some growth. And I began to talk about some things I felt like we were accomplishing. In the middle of the night, she She said, what's wrong? I said, I'm not awake because I can't sleep. I'm awake because I'm so excited and that type of thing, because I can see change. I can see growth. And we celebrated right there. You understand? I think that's important. Number 9, you want to reflect on your own unique journey. Sometimes you got to pause regularly to notice how far you have come. You ever take time, the old folk would say it this way, sometimes I look back over my shoulder and I see what you have brought me through, and I begin to get excited and I rejoice when I look back over my life and see all the things that you've brought me. And sometimes you have to stop and just reflect back and just look at your journey and say, God, the last time I went through that, I went under, but this time I came through and I came over it. You understand? So you have to be able to rejoice when you're able to walk over what you used to have to run over you. This is important now. And then number 10, you want to be able to connect with your community. Connect with community, not just your community, but connect with community. It can help to reach out to other folk who have gone through similar changes. This can be a formal or informal thing. Ideas including following support groups. Sometimes you need therapy. Sometimes you need a Facebook group. Facebook is not always bad. Instagram is not always bad. Sometimes you connect and you can follow somebody that's doing things that's uplifting to you. And so the social media is not always bad. It's just social media. You have to make of it what you need to make of it. And then if you are foul when you go in, you're gonna probably be foul when you come out. But if you got a pure mind when you go in, then you go in and you look how to connect. And there are certain people I follow on Facebook that helps uplift me and helps encourage me and helps me celebrate them from afar. I'm not there close. So you want to connect with community, but don't just do it all through social media. Sometimes you need to connect in a physical way, in a face-to-face way. So lunches, you understand, friends, do a friends cookout. I'm just going to invite all my friends and just the fun people, you understand, and just connect with them. I'm almost considering doing an enemy cookout. I'm just going to invite all my enemies over and feed them and see what happens. I think it'll be powerful, you understand. I think it's important because we learn things as we navigate through space. And so as we look at this now, God is wanting to do something new in you. So we may have to create a new wineskin, a new space for him to pour into. Maybe it's a new fellowship. Maybe it's a new connection. Maybe it's a new thing that you put on your schedule. I'm wanting to do a book club now. I'm considering doing a book club. Anybody interested in a book club for personal growth, personal development that we could connect with and be able to go through and do a book club together? I think it'll be fun. You understand? We used to do that years ago a lot. And I think it's fun. Met a lot of people. Some of the people I know now came as a result of being a part of a book club. And so I'm considering doing it. I'm considering doing it in a different way, and understand. And so I think it's important now that when we look at the assignment on our life, God is doing something new. There is new thing. He wants to do a new thing. In Isaiah chapter 40 and something, it says, behold, I will do a new thing. Behold, I will do a new thing. And he says, you don't have to look back over your shoulder. You don't have to run from what you used to run from. He says, I'm doing a new things. And my point today is he doesn't want to just renovate your old life. He wants to give you a new, complete start. And I want to encourage you to embrace that as it's coming. And sometimes we have to get our mindset that, God, I'm open to the new you that you're trying to create me to be, and we'll walk better. So this brings me to a close of our message. I hope that something I've said has been encouraging, uplifting, empowering. I hope it's impacted you in a positive, uplifting way. I hope it has added value to who you are. I hope it has helped you discover or even pursue your purpose, even with a harder. And I hope most of all that it is closing a gap that the enemy has caused in your life, that he is closing that gap is no longer there. And where you need to go next, God has already built a bridge for you to get there. Listen, thank you so much for joining us. I hope you have a tremendous rest of your day and 4th of July. Hope you enjoy that. Enjoy your time off. Got a couple of days off. Enjoy that time. But while you're off, make sure, I will say that we're going to be cooking out at our home on the 4th. What time we starting? 6:30. If you're welcome to come by, you don't have to call, just show up and that type of thing. We'll have plenty of food. Looking forward to spending some time with some friends and families and just people. I think it's just fun to do. About 6 or 6:30, she said, on July the 4th. You're welcome to come. But listen, I love you all. Hope you have a tremendous, tremendous blessed day. God bless you. And I hope that your day is amazing.